Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the FNPhenomenal Conversations. It is our monthly Google Hangout with some amazing, amazing women. See, when I first started this, I really wanted to take the conversations that we as women have with each other and bring them online because I come across so many awesome women and I just really want to introduce you to them. So, just in case you haven't figured it out yet, my name is Aisha Taylor, and I am the founder of FNPhenomenal, Frugal and Phenomenal, where we teach women that their self-worth is not dependent on their financial worth. So again, I just want to thank you so much for joining, and just make sure you write this website down, www.fnphenomenal.com, so you can join us later and look at all the goodies that we have in store for you. So without further ado, I really want to introduce our FNPhenomenal Women of the Month. We have Toya and Renee, founders of Boardroom Beauties. And so I met these ladies literally on social media. So it really just lets you know the power of social media and connecting people from around the world. And so we just really hit it off. We had an amazing conversation, and I remember I was featured as one of their boardroom beauties for the month. And then after that, I'm like, no, we have to figure out how to just extend this relationship because I really love what you guys are about. So I invited them here today for us to talk about the boardroom, talk about career, because part of being FNPhenomenal is really having an awesome career or following your passion, and you guys are in store for a treat because these ladies have done both. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Renee and Toya to you guys. So Renee and Toya, thank you so much for being here today, and just let everybody know what you guys do. You have totally strong, awesome personal brands, and then you guys have come together for Boardroom Beauties. So really just give the viewers just a chance to get to know you, get to know Boardroom Beauties, and then just talk about how you guys were able to come together to form this amazing concept.
All right, well, I'll go first. So hello, everyone. Great to see you virtually, or I guess you guys can see me. But my name is Toya Nicole, and I want to thank Aisha from Frugal and Phenomenal for having us on. And as she said, my co-founder and I, Renee, started Boardroom Beauties last year as a network and a way to inspire and encourage women to pursue their dreams. And we focus on both personal, professional, and spiritual development. And one of the ways we do that is through a series of lifestyle and empowerment events. We do a boardroom banter series where we do a hangout as well. We have our blog, and then on our social media, both our Facebook and our Twitter. Our Facebook, we're at Boardroom Beauties, and on Twitter, we're at Dream Baby Color. We provide, inspirational content and motivational content for women as well. So I'm Toya Nicole, like she kind of both have our personal brands as well. I'm a travel blogger at misstravelchic.com, and then I'm also a social media and branding strategist, and the name of my company is Nicole Media and Communications. So I look forward to sharing tips from the boardroom and all about corporate America with you guys this evening. And I'll let Renee go now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Renee, and I just take this blog from Water. And I call all things beauty from the inside out, empowering women, and I'm also inspiring offers with a big message connect. And it's titled I'm Inspired. The book that for the end of the year, there is an original quote and affirmation that's called out empowering women from the inside out. I partnered with Toya a couple months ago, and we have been working together, and we work on empowering women through workshops, seminars, digital media, like Toya said, and we look to our community and empowering women.
Renee, did we lose you?
I'm sorry?
Okay. It was hard to hear you for a second.
Oh, okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a little feedback, Renee. I don't know if you need a because we can hear the Google Hangout through your phone as well too. So just a little feedback.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so while we're having a hard time hearing you. It was a lot of feedback.
Yeah, I'm letting her know now. So,
Okay.
all right.
Okay. So cool. So one thing, so how did you guys come together to found Boardroom Beauties? Because one of the things that's always interesting to me is that how people form collaborations. And it's interesting that just earlier today, I was listening to TD Jake's ministry and over YouTube. And one of the things that he said is that when people come together, they can create even more magic. So how did you guys come together to found Boardroom Beauties?
Yes, yeah, you are so right, and we talk about collaboration a lot. And Renee and I met, as she was saying, she's a beauty blogger. Her blog is Beauty School Scarlet, and I'm a blogger. And we met through a local blogger group last year in the spring, and so we just connected, about blogging. And then I ended up moving into her apartment building like a couple of months later. And so we became neighbors. And so just through chatting about kind of our own goals and vision, we just started talking about how, we had been to a lot of networking events and did a lot of things, but we really felt like, wow, there really isn't anything that kind of focuses on the whole woman. So personally, professionally, spiritually, there are organizations who are just professional, or something in the church maybe just on the spiritual, or something lifestyle related. And so we kind of were like, we should do something together. And we both had just been sharing like goals and things we wanted to do with different things like that, and we just decided to come together. And you're right about collaboration. It's one of the things I was tweeting about last week, and I was like, real women don't compete, they collaborate. Because there's so much more power when you can come together and share your knowledge, share your resources for something better. So instead of us all out there going out trying to do something different and all out there doing the same things, if you come together, there are strengths that Renee has that I don't, and we tapped into this resource in each other's network. And so collaboration is really a good key for you to kind of, build a signature brand, or just, put on an event or start a business. But I really think it's great when you can come together with another individual or several groups of individuals to start something new.
That's so amazing. And so one of the things that it's interesting, because you hear things all the time, and just the stereotypes that you see on TV. You see women being catty. Like, if you believe what you see on these housewives and girlfriends and let me not go there type shows, you don't see women getting along. You don't see this powerful ability for women to connect for something bigger than themselves. And that's one of the things that I love about what you and Renee are doing. It's like showing, like, look, we as women, we can get along. We can share our talents. We don't have to compete. We don't have to argue. We can be really good role models. And I just love that you guys are getting out there and just showing people that that's possible.
Yeah, it really is. And it takes a little bit of you have to throw the ego out the window too when you enter a partnership, with someone. And I think sometimes that's what it is. Everybody wants to be I did this or it's mine, and they don't think about the benefit of kind of partnering with someone and throwing the ego out the side, because people always say, well, who came up with the idea for Boardroom Beauties? And we really say we came up together. I mean, everything from the name, the idea, it was kind of like a together thing. Wasn't I didn't come up with the name and she came up with the idea. We really did come together on it. So
That's really awesome. So, with Boardroom Beauties, I love how you guys have the boardroom banter. What's been your favorite part of that?
let me see if we got Renee back on the line. Renee, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so can you read the question? I'm sorry, because I was trying to get my phone to make sure I had it all together.
She was saying, what's been your favorite part of the Boardroom Banter series?
I think my favorite part of the boardroom is topics that you don't want to talk about. And I think that is the most fun part, because we get to give our opinion. People are here to talk about networking and how to network better, how to come together and collaborate easier. People are here to talk about what's happening in the office and how to ask for more money, things of that sort. So
Yes.
that's my favorite part.
I love it. So you mentioned something. You said how to really act in the office. And I know, Toya, you also mentioned ego as well. So what are some of the things that you guys have come across in your own life, or things that some of your viewers and your readers have come across that have made them successful in the office and in corporate America while still allowing them to be themselves?
Well, I know one thing that I always say is that just being authentic. I was in corporate America for over 11 years in sales and marketing, working for a private transportation company. And it was a very conservative company, but I'm not a very conservative person. I kind of worked, basically the average employee was like a 48-year-old, and here I am, this 20-something, black girl, finding myself amongst, these people who weren't necessarily looking like me and talking like me. But I still remain true to myself. And I think that comes down even in being authentic in your own style. I had to fight a lot to let my leadership know that, hey, the way Jim Bob, does with his customers and goes out and plays golf and the good old boy thing is not going to be the way that I, converse with my customers. And I'm going to have a different style about, different things that I do. And I just stay true to that, and at the end of the day, the leaders had to respect that and respect the diversity, importance of that too as well. And so I think just being authentic and being true to yourself, discovering strengths. I think sometimes we focus much on our weaknesses, especially in corporate America. You have your annual reviews and your development plans, etc. But I started discovering some of my strengths. One of them, even though my job was in sales, I had a strength in, event planning, which is kind of something I've been able to do, outside of corporate America. But I started to let my leadership know that. So when it came time to plan the staff conference or plan the next community service, she let me take the lead on that. So it was a way to show a different skill that I had that wasn't necessarily part of my daily task of my job, being effective, leader and a valued asset to the company. So the more authentic you are and the more you're willing to speak up and share with your leadership about the skills you have to offer and do more of that, not only inside the boardroom but outside the boardroom as well, just helps you to be more successful.
That's a really good point. So how did you actually initiate that conversation? Because one of the things that you read in a lot of the books, and you talk to mentors and they say, speak up, ask for the raise, ask for the things that you want. So how are you able to say, hey, I have a passion in event planning and can I do this, right? How did you translate that to the request that got the action?
I personally would always use, at my company, we had reviews, and you had your mid-year review and you had your annual review. And, you know, a lot of times for people, depending on the nature of your work, if you're in a field job or you just have a boss that's really hands off, sometimes that's the only one-on-one time you really get with your boss. And so I use those times to bring that up. So when it came time for my mid-year review, and, you know, we talked about goals and objectives, but then I talked about, hey, these are some things that I would like to do more. You know, so you should already be thinking about if there's something at your job you want to do, if you want to be on, you know, a certain committee, or if you want to work on the special project that next year. Be already thinking about that, and when you get some one-on-one time with your boss during a review, tell them that, hey, I think this will help me to reach my overall goals and to help me improve my overall performance if I'm given the opportunity to do something that I know, you know, I'm good at. It will make me more productive. It increases the morale, you know, on the job. So more leaders, you know, should embrace that. And I find that when you do take that time to speak up, you know, they have no choice, you know, but to really respect you and listen. And I have to be honest, the first time that I brought that up to my boss, I didn't immediately see action. A couple opportunities passed that I thought I could have been a part of, and that didn't immediately happen. And so next time around, I was like, hey, remember when I said, you know, I was serious, so I kind of known, and so then she was like, okay, let me get on it. So you have to remind people too, and in a sense kind of stay in their face, and let them know that, you know, that's an important goal for you to reach.
See, that's good, because I heard you pretty much said you have to manage your career. You have to speak up. And I love how you put it in terms of how this is going to increase morale, how this is going to improve the company. And so you made it about how you'll be able to contribute even more to your job by being able to stay in your passion and be able to really expand your ability to contribute to the overall corporation. And so one more follow-up question, and we're going to get to Renee. So one thing that I thought about as you were saying is, you said, you know, a couple of opportunities passed before you saw real action with your boss. How did you avoid being frustrated? Because I know sometimes we're thinking, okay, I asked them once, they should have understood it. But if you're a manager, if you're a boss, you have a lot of things on your plate. And some people are super analysts. Some people aren't necessarily good managers or good leaders. So how were you able to really manage yourself? And I know before we started the hangout, we talked, actually no, on the hangout, you talked about ego. So how did you manage yourself, really control your ego to not get frustrated when your first attempt to expand your role, it didn't have any effect?
Well, I did get frustrated. And this is why I tell people it's important to have people both at your job and outside your job that you can vent to. Because you're right, it didn't immediately happen. And I remember, you know, there was another staff conference, and I felt like, you know, these people got the opportunity to be visible, to be speak and present and do things that I asked. And I was frustrated. I spent a lot of time venting, though, to people outside of my immediate team. So, sure, you said a managed relationship, and I used the appropriate time, which was at my review, to let that be known. So you have to keep your frustrations kind of in perspective too, because like you said, I did have to understand that, you know, managers have a lot going on. I didn't know how far in advance, you know, those other people were scheduled to be at that event. So I could have made a lot of assumptions, and I could have got mad. But when the next review time rolled around, I used that time and that platform as the way to appropriately, you know, let my concerns and let, you know, what I wanted to be some, you know, steps for me to take be known then. And I think my boss really respected that, rather than, kind of going off on her or firing off an email or kind of being, a little impatient. So just within the entrepreneurial journey, it's the same in corporate America. It's going to take a while for you to climb up the ladder, for you to have some successes. And patience is important when you get frustrated, because you will get frustrated. And like I said, having a sounding board, having people that will listen to you vent, or even having a mentor within the company that you can share with and have somebody give you some, suggestions and some feedback and coach you through it really helps.
That's awesome. So Renee, how about you?
I have learned that with me, I've really taken the time to play up my skills. And then I try to record what those skills are and keep a record of those, so that when I'm going to go ask for more money, if I'm going to go ask for a better position, I'm asking and I'm going to them with the facts. These are the things that I've done. These are the things that I'm capable of, and this is why I need this position. And I'm also doing it in a way that I'm mirroring their image, so I'm getting to know them, not just on a personal level, but also on a professional level, so that when I go to talk to them, I'm talking to them the right way. A good example was when I wanted to move to, I was living in D.C. at the time, and I'm originally from Chicago. And I remember the time when I kept saying to my boss, I want to move back to Chicago, I want to move back. And they kept telling me no. And I had to think about reason. It really didn't make sense when you thought about it, because the majority of my territory was in one East Coast. So I took the time to think about what are the reasons why I needed to be in Chicago, how could it be good for the company, what things would I bring to the company, and why would it be successful. So I decided that I would move myself instead of asking the company for money. So going about it a different way, and really playing up to the fact that my boss talked about, or the CEO at the time was talking about work-life balance, and at the time I didn't have one when I was in Maryland. So I always talked about work-life balance, and I brought it to him that way. When I talked about work-life balance and how I can be more productive living in Chicago and managing the majority of my territory within the D.C. area, he saw my argument and understood it. And about a week later, I was able to move back to Chicago. So I would say, knowing what you have to offer, explaining that to the manager or your boss, and also telling them why you're going to be successful in that role.
I love it, because you made it all about your company instead of about you, and you were able to get what you wanted. So you really were strategic. It was that's really good advice. That's really excellent advice. So I hope that everyone is taking notes. One of the things that both ladies just said is figure out your company, figure out the dynamics of your company, figure out who you work for, and really look at your role and the things that you do right now. You add value where you are, and then you take that and really come up with a plan and a strategy to say, this is where I want to go, and this is why I'm the perfect person to do it. And be patient and not be upset if things don't happen right away. So that is really amazing advice. So Renee, I want to go back to you, because you really focus on beauty. So appearance in the workplace. And I know, Toya, you probably have some thoughts on this too, because you worked in a very conservative environment. So how do you make sure that you're really dressing the part of where you want to go, and making sure you look the part of where you want to go?
I always say for you to dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. For the job that you want, you're going to dress better, you're going to present yourself better, and you're going to feel better about yourself as well too, and people are going to take you more seriously. And it's just a matter of being in a professional environment, so you have to dress professional. I can't tell you time and time again that I've interviewed people, and they come to an interview with flip-flops, or I've worked with forever, and yet they have to come to an interview with flip-flops. You heard that right. Or I've interviewed people who, like I said, I've worked in the beauty industry before, That's where most of my career comes from. So basically working in the beauty industry, you come to an interview and you don't have on makeup. Do the research of the company, understand what their background is, and go into that interview, dress for that interview the right way. Go to work dressed the right way. So if the culture of the company is to be more relaxed, but be relaxed in a professional way. Always have your clothes presented the right way and your appearance dressed the right way as well too.
So how do you manage the workforce being increasingly more casual? So now you see a lot more of these jeans days going on and people being all around less formal. Even now, sometimes you see executives wearing jeans or wearing polo shirts. So how do you manage that with still dressing dressing the part for where you want to go?
It's so funny. Oh, it's so funny you said that because my company, basically, like you said, it was a very conservative company. They basically had to ban jeans at a certain point because it was getting so out of hand. People use that as a license to kind of dress for the club. And, our CEO sent out this mass email like, okay, jeans days will only be Friday. They will only be once a quarter. And here is the dress code for those of you all who do not know. You don't come in tight jeans and stilettos walking up and down the hall. So, I mean, you're right. And so, like you said, like I was at a very conservative company, and so not only with things like that, I had to keep in mind because I'm, can want to be very like stylish and trendy, and there are just some things that aren't appropriate. Do. I am a believer in the peep toe pump. When summer rolls around, do the peep toe pump. Don't have all your toes out. Do not wear flip flops. As far as jeans go, try to find a loose fit. You don't want to draw any attention to yourself or whatever. And I can remember I was mentoring a young lady who was an intern, and she came in there with purple hair.
No way.
And she didn't understand. Yeah, had a weave. It was a sister girl. She had a weave and she had a couple of strips of purple hair. And different employees were chattering about her. But when I heard that the VP made a comment about it and started being referred to as the girl with the purple hair, I pulled her aside, and as her mentor, I had to let her know. I was like, look, I know it may not seem fair. I know you want to express yourself. I know down in college this is fine. But at the end of the day, if you want to have a career here, these are the rules that we play around here. And it, like Renee said, in the beauty industry, you don't not wear makeup, And so there are certain rules in a conservative, very type of business environment. We worked at a headquarters. So any day there was the CEO of Walmart or Walgreens walking in and out of always. I don't want him to buy something in short day or prepare and up on the brand of the company that you work for. So I would just say make yourself knowledgeable with your company dress code. And like Renee said, dressing for the job you want. Look at how the VP dresses. So if you want to be the VP and there's a lady that's a VP there, look at how she dresses, how she wears her hair. And, I know when we interviewed you for Boardroom Beauties, Aisha, you talked about going natural. And I had the same issue, going natural and being in a very conservative environment where people do not understand what is going on with your hair. And, so I had to educate myself on natural hairstyles for the workplace, and understand that there were, certain people who weren't going to get it and maybe see it as a distraction. As difficult as that may be to swallow, you should be able to wear whatever you and dress whatever you want and wear your hair wherever you want. When you're playing in corporate America, you got to play by the rules.
You do. You really do.
Then that's when you have to understand that might not be the right choice. Google it And there's so many things on Google that you can find out how to
Renee, can you say that one more time?
Yeah, I was just saying that dress for the job. When I say dress for the job that you want, understand the culture of the company and make that decision. If you have to ask yourself, does this look right? Then it probably doesn't, because you don't have that person at home to tell you, or maybe you do have someone at home to tell you if that looks right on you or if it doesn't. But Google is a powerful thing. Google information to find out how you should dress within the workplace and understand and research the information that you want to. Like Toya said, if the VP is not wearing jeans, then maybe you should wear jeans if that is the culture of the company and that's the job that you want to wear. I mean, the job that you want to have.
No, that's actually a really excellent point. Google is a powerful search tool. You can find anything on there.
And we had people, like I said, we had jeans day, and I can remember asking a guy, why don't you ever wear jeans? And he said that, you know, this certain VP didn't wear them, so he wasn't wearing them. You know, that although it was allowed, he watched what the people who he wanted to trade places with were doing, and he emulated that.
That's true. And you know what's interesting is, and I definitely want to talk to you guys about this quickly too, because even with Jeans Day, and Toya, you touched on it too, like that's not an excuse to be inappropriate or look like you're going to the club or wear stilettos. Like I remember I actually had an old manager who like never wore slacks. It was always jeans. Oh. And it's funny, people started to tease him like, do you own a pair of slacks? So like if you want to move up in the company, like you said, like you might need to look a couple of levels above you to see how other people are doing. And then one of the other things too is that I've seen on Jeans Day is people wearing jeans that aren't presentable. Like your jeans shouldn't have holes in them, or your jeans shouldn't be ripped. Like you need to wear jeans. What'd you say?
They shouldn't be capris. Like we had people wearing like capri jeans and Bermuda shorts. Like no.
No, you wear jeans and a nice shirt. You wear a work shirt with the jeans. It's fun, and sometimes too, because the world is getting increasingly more casual, a lot of people who are coming up, they just don't know. And I figure that we came up at the time where we've seen both. Like we've seen when it's more casual, more formal, and how it's more casual now, so we understand the difference and what it's supposed to be like. Just like I remember when I was going to church as a kid, people dressed up at church. And so now you can go to church casual, but I know what it used to be, so my casual might not be the same as everybody else's casual.
Right. Yeah, the times do change, and if you're at a forward-thinking startup, you know, again, like we said earlier, it's all about knowing the culture of your company and going with that.
Exactly. Exactly. So one of the things I want to get to as well is really address the issue of courage and really combining faith, purpose, and also being a career person, because like you guys are both bloggers, so you have your own businesses, and so you were able to really navigate the corporate world and still build your own brand. So what would you say to somebody who might be in the workplace, who might not be happy, who might be raising her hand and saying, hey, I think that I want to do this, can I get there, but maybe she's not being heard. So how can she still live her passion and do things to keep her excited and happy about the things that she does while still being successful at work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you have to, at a certain point, make a decision. So I heard you say a couple of things. Maybe somebody who is there and wants to leave and start a business, and maybe somebody who, thinks she wants to stay at the company, but she's just real miserable and, wants to move up or whatever. And the first thing I would say is you kind of have to really like get clear about what your career aspirations are. I know when I started my career, I was in Texas working for my company, and at a certain point, I wanted to relocate, and I was like, I want to move to Chicago, and I wrote out this career path. And then once I got up here in Chicago and was working the job for probably going on 5 years, I realized I was miserable. And then when I started to look at leadership and different roles, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. So I had to kind of get clear, really, what do I want? If they gave me the promotion, is that what I really want? Then do I really want the next one? When I think about being VP, is that something I want? So for me, the decision came that I did not see myself at that company long term. And so then I had to kind of be strategic and have a plan. And so like you said, I had passions outside, including blogging and including doing things with events and traveling. And so I started to tap into those things. And then when I finally made the decision of, hey, I want to quit, this job. After 14 years with this, company and this great job and opportunities, I knew I needed to walk away from that. So I started being very strategic in how I manage my life, how I manage my finances, and even how I managed my career the rest of that time. Up until the very end, there were still people shocked that I quit because I was still active, I was still meeting my goals or whatever. But I knew going forward, 5 years from now, I didn't see myself at that company. So at a certain point, you have to make a decision. So if you are out there and you're like, that's me, yeah, I don't like my job, I know I can't stay there longer, I tell women all the time, get up there now. When you make that leap and make that jump, it does take a lot of courage, and it is very scary, leaving the comforts of a lifestyle that you have gained for yourself, financial, everything. I mean, there are little things as far as like business travel perks that I miss. I was traveling this weekend, personally, but I was like, I'm missing my business travel perks, but I knew those were different things that I was giving up, but you have to have a plan, and you really need to focus on working that plan. Don't go quitting your job all willy-nilly, and don't go being so miserable that you're not getting work done that you end up getting fired either, and you don't have a plan in place. So be strategic, but have the nerve to really go out there and quit the job, or have the nerve to stand up and go after the promotion that you want. I remember reading something where women are less likely than men to apply for jobs based on requirements. We can sometimes think, I know I want to be director, I know I want to be VP, but I don't have my MBA, or I haven't had experience on, the finance side yet. Go for it anyway. I always stayed amazed at the people who got promotions in my company that you weren't so-called qualified or whatever. And I think as women, we tend to be a little more fearful than our male counterparts when it comes to that. We're not willing to take those risks. We're not willing to stand up and say, I deserve this promotion, and no, I haven't met this qualification, but I know if you give me the opportunity, I will do it. So whether you want to quit, have a plan, start being strategic. If you want to stay and just want it to be more rewarding, start standing up for yourself, start going after projects, start going after more opportunities, and start applying for those jobs even if you don't think that you're qualified for it at your company.
Yeah, not being afraid to hear the word no, because the more times you hear no, the more times you're going to hear the word yes.
Exactly. I always say for every no that you get, God has a yes out there somewhere. So just keep going.
Exactly. I absolutely love it. So, Renee, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure. I always say if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? Meaning that you always have to have a goal and a plan. It's really a wish, and you're just wishing, hoping, and praying that it's going to happen, and there's no action that you're going to take. So, I've been in the beauty industry forever. We won't talk about how long that is, but it's been a long time. And I've definitely worked my way up through the ladder. And I've been on the corporate side of the beauty industry for quite some time. And the positions that I've gotten because I've worked hard and I haven't been scared to ask for what I want. And I also don't have a degree. And a lot of people always say, and I think, actually, let me go back a little bit. I've made more money than a lot of my friends have. And they're like, how do you make so much money? How do you get to where you are? Because I'm not afraid of the no. That's the worst thing that they can tell me. I'm going to do what I got to do to make this happen because that's what I want in my life. So I go and I ask for that job. And again, I tell them, how is it going to benefit the company? What skills do I have? And how can I make this happen for myself? And like Toya said, through prayer, you make things happen. When I went to the last company that I was with, I won't say who that was, but I was miserable. And I went to work every day like, oh my God, I gotta go to work again. And I had to decide for myself, what is it that I want to do? Because I didn't know at the time. And it was, I got sick, and I was out of work for 2 weeks. My blood pressure was sky high, and the doctor was like, you have to do something. But it wasn't like I was about to have a heart attack or a stroke. It was just extremely high, and they were really worried. So make a long story short, I ended up coming up with a plan, and I prayed to God, and I was like, what is it that you want me to do? What is my purpose? I knew that I had a passion for writing. I knew that I had a passion for beauty. So I decided to become a beauty blogger and put it all together. And it was the best of both worlds for me. So that is how I became a beauty blogger. And I told my doctor, during these 2 weeks, I'm going to form everything that I need to make things happen for myself. And I formed my company, which is my blog, Beauty Started. Within 2 weeks, I went back to the doctor, and my blood pressure was down. And he was amazed. And it was because of the job that I was in. And I had to make a decision. Am I going to continue on with this job that's stressing me out and making me miserable? Or am I going to step out of faith? Well, fortunately for me, I was pushed out on faith and I was laid off. And ever since then, I started to put everything that I had into my job. It's the beautiful start, which is now my job. I became an entrepreneur and stepped out on faith, or was pushed out on faith, and they got me that decision for me and moved forward with everything. But you also have to take stock sometimes and say, is this still working for me? Because even though I love blogging, like Toya said, it takes time. And it's not anything that's going to happen overnight. So just like you're working towards being the next CEO or the next VP within your company, it's the same thing with being an entrepreneur. It's nothing that's going to happen overnight. And so I saw that things were starting to run low with my funds, and I needed to still maintain a living. So I decided to go back into corporate America. Well, I am still making my dreams and my passions come to fruition. But don't be scared. Don't be scared to go back. And don't be afraid to go back to where you were and still make your dreams come true because they can happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And so, it's so funny, and so for the viewers, this is exactly how we had our first conversation. We were like, oh my God, we're like obsessed with each other, because it's just like, I remember I was going through a lot, and the same story that you hear with Toya and Renee, and I don't talk about it a lot, especially online, because it's still pretty fresh. I'm fresh out of it, but the same thing happened for me. It's like God puts you through certain things to shake you to your core, to get you to move in the direction that He wants you to go in. And so one of the things that people don't realize, like when I wrote the book, 5+5 FNPhenomenal Ways to Save $100 This Week Without Killing Your Lifestyle, I was absolutely miserable. I was so miserable, like I was having anxiety attacks. And really for me, my out became my creativity in building FNPhenomenal. And so when I look at where God had me at that point in time, I would not have made the moves that I made if he didn't have me in such misery. and and like just with what Toya was saying earlier, like as I looked at the company I was in, and people said, well, where, like, you got to fill out your career plan, where do you want to go? I'm like, I don't want any of these positions. Like, I can look at the org chart and I can point to every single one of the positions and say I don't want it. So why would I stay in a position when I have no upward mobility in the company because I don't want it? And sometimes you can be trapped in a situation because of fear, because you're like, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I got my degree in, this is what all my friends are doing, this is everybody in the social circle, they're all doing this. But then sometimes God just shakes you to your core to make you realize that none of that stuff matters. Because when you're going to the doctor because your health is being impacted, I totally feel where Renee was coming from, because my health was impacted. I was in and out the doctor with aches, pains, and stress-related illnesses, and no one could figure out what was wrong with me. Because nothing was physically wrong with me. It was stress. And as soon as I removed myself from the situation, and as soon as I got in tune with what I was supposed to be working on, which was frugal and phenomenal, like, I felt better. And so I just got really excited, because I don't know who's watching this thing, who's going to watch it, who might be going through the same thing that 3 people just said that they went through. Like, you have to at some point just step out on faith and trust the vision that God has given you, and just do it and just make it happen. Okay, that's.
You have to keep on, because like Renee said, even after being laid off, you know, and for me, even after quitting, you know, it is still a journey, because you're right, this thing isn't going to happen overnight. And like I said, it's good to have a plan, but sometimes even when you're strategic and you have a plan, you can still run across, you know, some obstacles along the way. And do you have that faith? Do you have that courage? Do you have that tenacity to kind of keep going and come up with another option? Maybe that's going back into a full-time job, you know, do something better than what you were doing before. Maybe that's picking up part-time work or doing something else, you know. But whatever it is you need to do to get your mental well-being and your physical well-being and to still pursue your dreams, you have to take whatever steps that is, no matter how crazy it may look to somebody else, because you got a degree in finance and now you're somewhere being a beauty blogger. Like, I know it don't make sense to, you know, to people when people do things like that, but if it's your dream and that's what's in your heart, you have to go for it and continue to have the faith and know that God is going to keep you through it.
Yes, exactly.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say that when it shakes your core and it makes you feel uncomfortable, you need to be doing it.
Preach. You know, it's interesting that you say that, because my newsletter went out today, and the message was, he never meant for the temporary to be permanent. And so, like, when I was writing that, like, I was just having a lot of revelations. Like, sometimes God puts you in a situation that might be a temporary employment, that might be a temporary role at your job, and you might think that that's where you're supposed to be, but sometimes he's just moving you to get out of a situation that you were comfortable in. Like, at church, at church on Sunday, the pastor had one of the best analogies I've ever heard. He said, don't write your plans in cement, write them in sand, because if you write them in cement, you're stuck somewhere that God no longer wants you to be if he decides to move. And so he said, when you write your plans in sand, when the water comes, it wipes away those plans and you can start all over again. But if you put your plans in cement, you can't move. So I got reminded of that as both of you two were talking. See, now you guys see why I wanted to get them on Hangout. So yeah, one thing I want to ask you guys before we wrap up is, what would you tell your younger self?
I tell my younger self kind of what I was mentioning earlier of patience. I would say to my younger self, don't rush life. Be patient. God has it all in control, and He does not need your help. Because my younger self, as well as my adolescence, as well as my 30-something self, still tries to get in the middle of God's plans and tries to manipulate things in my own way. And it's just like, no, like, it's all going to work out in the perfect timing. I have a girlfriend who always tells me, you're right, you are right where you need to be. And I mean, that applies for with business, that applies for personal life. I mean, we all have these, by 25, I'm going to be married and have 2.5 kids and all these, be on the cover of Black Enterprise by 30. And, I think when I was younger, I had this kind of fantasy dream of what I thought my life was going to be. And when things weren't kind of going that way, I would try to get in and try to manipulate them because obviously God needed my help. And, that never worked out. So, I tell my younger self as well as telling my older self now to not rush life. God's timing is perfect. I'm right where I need to be. And, letting things play out the way they need to be without a lot of manipulation from us, from me.
That's awesome.
And I would say for me, the first thing would be be patient, like Toya said, because that is so true. The second thing would be is do what you feel and have no regret. Because when you regret things, then you're always thinking, I should have done that. Or if I would have done it this way, and you're always living in the past, and it's hard for you to move forward. So just do what you feel and have no regret. And then the last thing that I would tell myself is the four things that I live by is live, laugh, love, and learn. I live for today because no one is promised tomorrow. I always find time to laugh because you have to find something funny in life. I always try and learn something new for the day. And I always want to love with my whole and entire heart. And I always want to love myself first.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So, I'm just captured by it because it was just perfect. A way to really wrap up everything that we've really been talking about. So, how can people find you and connect with you and learn more about you guys and what you do?
Well, you can find Boardroom Beauties at boardroombeauties.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Boardroom Beauties. And on Twitter, we're at Dream Big in Color. And we have an event next weekend. It's an Embracing Beauty event. It's September 13th, Saturday in Chicago. So if you are in the nearby area and can join us, we would love to have you. We're going to talk about embracing beauty. We're going to have a panel of people talking about embracing beauty from the inside out. Renee's going to speak on that topic. I'm going to talk about the beauty and extraordinary living. We also have a health and wellness expert talking about preserving your beauty, as well as a makeup expert, Austin Maxfield from Chicagolicious, is going to come in and talk about fall tips and tricks. So it's going to be one of our last events for the year before we take a little vacation and focus on our other personal brands. So we hope everyone can join us. And personally, for me, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Toya Nicole Media. That's my business site, and from there you can connect to my personal Twitter account, which is Miss Travel Chic. But find me on Twitter at Toya Nicole Media, Instagram and Facebook, and my website is www.toyanicolemedia.com. I have an upcoming webinar as well, and I help entrepreneurs and small businesses and nonprofits leverage their online presence to grow their business. So you can check me out there, and as well as my travel blog if you're looking for some tips and tricks on traveling smart with style. It's kind of my specialty on my blog. So that's me. So I'll let Renee go.
And like Toya said, we have our upcoming event with Boardroom Beauty. Tickets are on sale for $10 right now on Eventbrite, or you can go to the Boardroom Beauty site and look under events and find it there. And you can find me. I am Beauty School Scarlet. So my blog is beautyschoolscarlet.com. I'm the Cisco expert of all things beauty. So I rate and review products. I talk about all things beauty and inspiring from the inside out. I'm also in the process of finishing up my book, which is I'm Beauty Inspired. So you can use that hashtag I'm Beauty Inspired, as I am Beauty Inspired, and tell me how you are beauty inspired and how you have beauty from the inside out. And I also have my Twitter and my Instagram is @ABeautyScarlet. So that's @ABeautyScarlet. And that's my Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us today and really sharing the tips for the boardroom, tips about pursuing your passion, and really just tips on faith, because that's what life is all about. It's about, like you said, living life on faith and living life with no regrets, because that's really important. So thank you again for joining. Thank you for the viewers who have tuned in to listen. And again, my name is Aisha Taylor, founder of Frugal and Phenomenal, FNPhenomenal. So you can find me on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at FNPhenomenal. And you can connect with me online at www.fnphenomenal.com. And when you're on the site, don't forget to opt into the list, because you will be able to get an amazing newsletter delivered to your email inbox every week. And then that way you can also keep up to date on all things going on with FNPhenomenal. So thanks again for joining, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.